The Black Dread, Aegon the Conqueror's dragon. What made Balerion the most feared dragon in Westeros? Of unparalleled size and power, he was a living weapon wielded by Aegon the Conqueror during his historic conquest of the Seven Kingdoms. His immense black scales shimmered with a terrifying grandeur, and his fiery breath could melt stone and steel alike. This is his story, because let's be honest, when a dragon's that big, it's always going to be their story. Balerion the Black Dread was born in Valyria and was one of the dragons brought to the ancient volcanic island of Dragonstone by House Targaryen before the Doom. Named after one of the gods of old Valyria, Balerion's birth marked a significant moment in Targaryen history. They had escaped the doom of Valyria by settling on Dragonstone, and Balerion's arrival was seen as a powerful omen of their destiny to rule. From the moment he hatched, it was clear that Balerion was no ordinary dragon. His scales were black as coal, his eyes glowed with an inner fire, and his wings spanned the width of a great hall. As he grew, so did his reputation for his immense size, strength, and ferocity, making him the most feared dragon in Westeros. Balerion's most fearsome attribute was his fiery breath, which burned hotter than any forge and could melt stone. This flame was capable of reducing entire armies to ash and laying waste to the mightiest fortresses. His size was unmatched. When he flew, his vast wings could blot out the sun, casting entire towns into shadow. His roar was deafening, with a sound that could be heard for miles. The strength in his jaws and claws could tear through armor and battlements. Also, his endurance was legendary. He carried Aegon the Conqueror across the breadth of Westeros during the Targaryen conquest and during long flights and intense battles. His skills provided him with nearly impenetrable armor, allowing him to dominate any battlefield. He was a creature of such immense power that even other dragons paled in comparison to him. With Aegon Targaryen on his back, Balerion took to the skies to conquer Westeros. Balerion's immense size and strength gave Aegon a distinct advantage in battle. Some say he was the ultimate weapon. Others might argue he was simply the Targaryen family pet, just with a bit more bite than most. Their most legendary moment came at the Field of Fire, a battle that would be etched in the history books of Westeros for centuries to come. The combined forces of the Reach and the Westerlands, two of the most powerful armies in the realm, made their stand against Aegon's conquest. Confident in their numbers and the strength of their knights, they believed they could overwhelm Aegon's forces, but they have not reckoned with the fury of Balerion. Aegon, surveying the battlefield from above on Balerion's back, gave the command. Balerion dove toward the heart of the enemy forces and unleashed a storm of dragon fire upon them. The flames consumed everything in their path, and those who survived the initial onslaught were blinded by smoke and terror, stumbling over the charred remains of their comrades. The Field of Fire earned its name that day, as a combined might of two great houses was utterly destroyed in a sea of flame. The battle was over almost before it began, and the surviving lords, faced with such overwhelming devastation, quickly bent the knee to Aegon. Well, if you were a lord in Westeros at the time, would you have stood your ground or bent the knee at the sight of Balerion approaching? Another great moment of Balerion's wrath was the destruction of Harrenhal, the largest castle in Westeros, with walls so thick they were said to be impenetrable. When Aegon the Conqueror demanded Harren's surrender, the proud king refused, trusting in the strength of his fortress. In response, Aegon unleashed the Black Dread upon Harrenhal. Stone does not burn, Harren had boasted, but his castle was not made of stone alone. Wood and wool, hemp and straw, bread and salted beef and grain, all took fire. Nor were Harren's iron men made of stone. Smoking, screaming, shrouded in flames, They ran across the yards and tumbled from the wall walks to die upon the ground below. And even stone will crack and melt if a fire is hot enough. The river lords outside the castle wall said later that the towers of Harrenhal glowed red against the night like 5 great candles. And like candles, they began to twist and melt as runnels of molten stone ran down their sides. King Harren, who had so confidently dismissed the threat of dragons, perished along with his sons. When the fire finally subsided, Harrenhal was unrecognizable. The proud castle, once the greatest in Westeros, was reduced to a smoking ruin. Balerion lived a long life, serving several Targaryen kings after Aegon, including Maegor the Cruel, who used Balerion to crush rebellions. Eventually the dragon grew old, and he was housed in the dragon pit in King's Landing. Balerion died during the reign of King Jaehaerys. His bones, larger than those of any other dragon, still lie in King's Landing as a remembrance of his immense size and power. In the TV series Game of Thrones, Balerion's skull was designed to be really massive. The production team aimed to create a sense of awe and fear, a showcase of the destructive power the Targaryens once wielded through their dragons, particularly Balerion. As we close this tale of Balerion the Black Dread, the greatest dragon in Westeros, remember that this is just one story among the many that we tell here. There are more tales to be told. Subscribe for more amazing stories from around the world.